Today I'm starting the process of making biltong. I have 2 kilos of beef. Right now it's just labeled biltong meat, but I believe the proper cut is usually bottom round. They call it silverside, and the silver membrane is removed from the piece of meat. It's cut so that the grain runs lengthwise down the meat, and that way when you slice the biltong later, you slice it across the grain, which makes it, of course, nice and tender to eat. I have 2 ounces of pickling salt, and I'm going to place my meat in this bin here, and I'll sprinkle in the salt. I've put the salt on side 1 and flipped it over. I put about 1 ounce per side. And once you get this evenly spread over the meat, then I put a piece of Saran to keep the oxygen or the air out, put it on top, and just let it sit for a couple of hours or even overnight, and it will naturally draw just the normal moisture out, which will shorten your drying process in the future. I've spread my plastic film across the top, and then I'm just going to weigh it down so that everything stays nice and up against the meat. This will, I think what it does is reduces the oxidization that happens when it comes in contact with the air. So I'm going to put this in the fridge and let it sit for a while. So it's been about 8 hours since I put on the salt, and you can see that having salted it, that it's drawn out quite a bit of moisture from the meat, which will speed up the drying process once you hang it, because all that moisture is already pulled out. I have about 3 ounces of liquid here. This is 2 parts red wine vinegar, 1 part Worcestershire or Worcestershire, however you like to call it. And I'll put this back into the liquid. I've poured off the original, blood and juice and whatnot that was pulled out of the meat. I'm going to flip it over in a second and get the Worcestershire and vinegar all over both sides, and then I'm going to sprinkle with spices. So this is my spice blend. It is ground coriander and black pepper. So it's just 2 parts coriander to 1 part pepper. I'm going to sprinkle this all over on one side, flip it over, and then sprinkle it on the other side. And then I'm going to do the same as I did before. I'm going to put some Saran over it, weigh it down, and then chuck it in the fridge for another 24 hours. Alright, so I'm finished. I flipped it over. I seasoned it on the other side. I'm going to put my weight on top just to keep it all down. Keep the air out. I also forgot to mention that the coriander is not just ground coriander, but it's ground and toasted. The act of toasting the coriander brings out the natural oils, which are also naturally antimicrobial. I will flip this over about 12 hours through the marination cycle so that it gets the marinade on the flip side, and then next time in about 24 hours we are going to wipe it down, respice, and then hang to dry. So now our meat has sat for 24 hours. I'm going to take it out of the bin, and I'm going to basically press out as much of the moisture that's remaining in the meat so that it's not dripping after I hang it to dry. I also like to, just to facilitate, the fresh spices being sprinkled on afterwards to be nice, evenly layered. I kind of scrape off any of the, to a certain degree, any of the loose spices that have been on there. I'll flip it over and do the same on the other side. So here we are with our meat that we've patted dry, and now we're going to basically, you know, spice, nice fresh dry spices. You can use your hands. Happens a little faster. I like to sort of pat it into the meat. You want to get it evenly spread so that you are having a nice full coverage of the spices. And this will also protect the meat while it's hanging so that it's not just open to the air. The spices, the roasted coriander has a nice, like I said before, antimicrobial component, so it will help to protect the meat as it's drying and curing. So now that we're spiced on both sides, around the edges as best I can, I don't have any fancy meat hooks, but I have paper clips. They have a plastic coating on them, so they should protect the meat from touching metal or anything that's not compatible with, you know, fresh meat. And we're going to take it and hang it to dry. I've placed some paper towel below the meat to catch any spices and whatnot that happen to fall off of the meat while it's busy curing. I have hung my meat from a shelf above my counter. It's going to sit there for about a week. And just to have some good airflow, I have a fan that blows across it in a general manner during the curing process. And again, it'll take maybe 7 days. The room temperature is somewhere between 68 and 70, 71, 72, depending on the temperature outside. And I'll probably start taste testing it within 4 or 5 days, just because I don't mind if it's not completely cured and I like the flavor. And there you have it.